Have you ever noticed that the times when you worry the most often show up right when there is nothing left you can do except lie still and wait for sleep to come? The day is done, your phone screen is dark. The room is so familiar you could picture every corner with your eyes closed. Yet in your mind, everything is still running, as if tomorrow were hanging on a thin piece of string. You use your days to try your best. Your nights get taken over by quiet worries. You worry about a careless sentence you let slip. You worry about an email that is still unanswered. You worry about a face that suddenly seemed colder. You worry about money, about the future, about all the worst-case scenarios that might never even happen. You lie there looking perfectly normal, while inside you there is a tense meeting going on with no end time. If you're in that state, there is one thing I want to tell you first, very gently. There's nothing wrong with you. You worry like that because you care, because you want to live in a decent way, because you do not want to hurt anyone, and you also do not want to drop your own chances. It is just that along the way, you sometimes turn yourself into the one who has to be responsible for everything, even for things that were never within your reach. Welcome to Lucid Dream, Sleep and Science Stories. Here, we are not trying to play the role of being strong or calm in a forced way. This is not a place where you hear short slogans and then push yourself to believe them right away. This is a space for the night, a place where you are allowed to admit that you are tired, that you are anxious, that you are tangled inside, and that you still want to understand yourself a little more and gently learn how to carry less. Tonight, I want to sit next to you like a slightly older friend, someone who has lost sleep over things very similar to what you are facing now. And I want to walk slowly with you through an idea that has survived for more than 2,000 years. Epictetus's reminder that some things are in our control and others not. Some things really are in your hands. Some things are not at all. You grew up in a world that keeps telling you that if you try more, think more, worry more, control more, you will be safer. So you are used to carrying everything in your head, as if the moment you relax about something, it will come back and bite you one day. You are used to feeling that you have to predict how people will react, that you have to plan for the worst possibilities, that you have to prepare explanations for situations that might never happen. All those skills help you get through the day. But when night comes, they turn into a radio no one turns off. Epictetus is not here to tell you stop worrying. He is the one who quietly turns the lamp around and asks, out of everything you are holding, what truly belongs to you and what belongs to other people, to life, to time. Tonight, in this video, we are not going to use philosophy as dry theory. We are not going to turn it into a test of whether you are stoic enough. We are just using it as a gentle frame to sort through the pile of thoughts stacking up inside you so you can see more clearly that part of your anxiety comes from things you can adjust little by little, and that a very large part comes from things where the result stays the same, no matter how many times you grind them in your mind. When you see that boundary, not every worry will disappear in one night, but you will feel less helpless. You will not feel like the only person who has to take responsibility for the whole world anymore. There's only one thing left for you to do. Take care of the part that is within your reach and slowly learn to accept the rest. Tonight, as you let your body sink deeper into the mattress and as your breathing starts to slow down, I will walk with you through this small journey. From the place where everything is mixed into one vague cloud of worry, to the place where you can separate what is your work, what is life's work, And what is something you can allow yourself to set down tonight? There is no need to rush and no need to push. You only need to let this voice stay beside you and let Epictetus whisper to you again, in a very modern way, that you deserve to rest in what you can control instead of drowning in what was never yours to hold. There are nights when it does not feel like you are resting at all. It feels more like you are stuck in an invisible meeting room where every thought stands up and takes a turn to speak. The light is off. Your phone is face down. The clock on the wall has moved past the time that is supposed to be when I should be asleep by now. Yet inside you, everything is more awake than it was in the afternoon. One corner of your mind is replaying a conversation from earlier in the day, trying to guess if someone is upset with you. Another corner is dragging out tomorrow's to-do list and marking the things you are afraid you will forget. Then suddenly, in the middle of the night, a story from years ago pushes its way back in, as if it was never really resolved. You lie still, eyes open or closed, feel almost the same, because what you see most clearly right now is not the ceiling or the dark. It is all those situations, faces, and sentences taking turns walking across your inner screen. You try to tell yourself, stop thinking about it, deal with it tomorrow. But even that sentence becomes a new topic for your mind to grab onto. What if tomorrow I still worry about it? What if I'm too late? What if the worst thing really happens? Your mind becomes like a chat thread no one is willing to stop. Message after message, one thought stitched to the next. There is no mute button that actually works. Your body, on the other hand, has been tired for a long time. Your eyelids are heavy. The back of your neck is a little tight. Your back has a dull ache from lying in one position too long. Every now and then, you let out a very soft sigh, like your way of telling yourself, I am tired. But your mind pretends not to hear it. It keeps coming up with more scenarios. What if I do not perform well? What if people judge me? What if one day I look back and realize I missed something important just because I chose to rest now? So every time you try to let go, another layer of guilt lands on top. You're not only worried about the things you are thinking about, you are also worried about the fact that you are worrying too much. From the outside, people will look at you and say quick lines. Stop overthinking. Think positive. Do not be so weak. They sound right on the surface. But if you place those sentences into this exact moment, you, lying here in the middle of the night, do they really bring sleep any closer? Or do they just make you feel both anxious and not good enough because you cannot control your mind the way other people think you should? Honestly, if you could switch off your thoughts like turning off a light, you would have done that a long time ago. No one holds on to this chaos for fun. You simply have not found another way yet, so you let it keep running, hoping that if you think long enough, you will finally arrive at some feeling of safety. There are nights when you feel like you are driving on an empty road. It is late. Everyone else seems to have turned off and gone home. Only you are still circling with no clear destination. You ask yourself, where am I even trying to go? What am I trying to find that makes me replay the same things again and again like this? If you recognize yourself in that picture, you are not the only one. Many kind people, many hardworking people, many very responsible people are the ones who sleep the worst, because in their heads they carry too many backup plans, too many what-ifs, too many fears of letting someone down. Their mind is not bad, it is just doing one job too well, trying to protect them by imagining every possible way things could go wrong. The problem is that this protection system does not know the time. It does not understand that when it is already 1 or 2 in the morning, there is nothing left to handle. There is only one task left: to let the body rest. So you lie here, alone between two worlds. On the outside, the night is very quiet. On the inside, it feels like you are sitting in front of dozens of browser tabs, all open at once, each one an unfinished story. You can start to notice very small signals on nights like this. Your heart beats a little faster than usual. The pulse in your wrist jumps more clearly. Your breath becomes shorter. Sometimes you feel heat rising in your body for no clear reason, and then a sudden chill. Your whole system is acting like it is preparing for a sprint, while in reality, you are just lying still on your bed. At its core, worry is your body and your mind getting ready for danger. But most of the time, the danger is not some animal waiting outside your door. It is a story you are playing in your head. Tomorrow is going to be so embarrassing. People will think I am useless. I am going to lose this chance forever. Your body cannot tell the difference between what is happening and what you're imagining. It only receives the signal: danger, and reacts. That is why the more you think, the more exhausted you feel. And the more exhausted you feel, the weaker you think you are, and the more you want to control everything so you will not get hurt. The loop keeps going like that. Sometimes, in a very brief moment between two waves of thought, you might feel yourself drifting a little away from all that noise, as if you were standing outside, looking in. You see your own mind working non-stop. You see it jump from one story to the next. And suddenly you notice, this is strange, I am clearly just lying here. That moment is precious because it shows you one small but important truth. You are not the stream of thoughts constantly rolling through. You are the one who can see them passing by. From that place, gently, without rushing, you can start asking kinder questions to yourself. Out of everything that is taking up space in my head tonight, is there anything I can actually touch right now? Or are they mostly things that belong to tomorrow, to other people, to what has already passed? You do not need to answer right away. You only need to be honest with yourself. Most of that crowd of thoughts is made of things that will not be solved even if you stay awake 1 or 2 more hours and keep worrying. Seeing that does not make them disappear, but it opens a tiny window for you to breathe. You slowly realize that maybe the problem is not that you worry. Maybe the problem is that you are trying to treat every single worry as your personal task to handle. Tonight, before we touch any big philosophical ideas, you only need to let yourself see the nature of this mind that refuses to slow down. It is not your enemy. It is just overworked, trying to manage too many things it believes it has to control. And from that realization, you can gently reach for the wheel again and start turning the boat back toward what truly belongs to you, instead of letting it be carried away by waves made of every possible scenario your imagination can create. There comes a point when you are worn out by the weight of your own thoughts, and you let out a very quiet question inside your chest. So what can I actually do right now? It is not the voice of giving up. It is a sincere question, like you are sitting down to talk honestly with yourself after a long day. From that tiny moment, the gap between you and your thoughts starts to open a little. Instead of being swept away, you begin to look at them like a table covered with stuff. Some things are yours. Some things are things other people just dropped off for a while. Some things you do not even know how they ended up there. More than 2,000 years ago, Epictetus drew one very simple line to sort that table. Some things are in our control and others not. He did not say, everything is up to you. He also did not say, you control nothing. He simply suggested that we try to sort. It sounds like a theory exercise at first. But if you place that sentence onto a night like this, when you cannot sleep, it suddenly feels very real. You are lying here, your mind circling around unfinished things, so try sitting quietly inside yourself and ask slowly, out of all the things that are making your chest feel heavy, is there anything I can change right now? With one concrete action, one decision, one sentence, or by looking again at my own attitude. And on the other side, how many of those things will stay exactly the same, even if I think about them for one more hour, one more night, one more week? When you truly sit with that question, not to analyze in a clever way, but to suffer a little less, you will see something that hurts a bit and also feels light. A very large part of what you are carrying is not actually your work. Marcus Aurelius, an emperor who probably also lost sleep over things very different from ours, but with the same inner feeling, wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. You do not have the power to decide every outside event, but you do have power over how you talk to yourself about those events. This is not a command to stay positive all the time. It is a reminder that if you cannot touch the outcome, then at the very least, you can still take care of your inner voice so it does not turn into someone who tortures you even more." Seneca is even more direct. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. You suffer more in the stories in your head than in what is actually happening. When you remember a careless sentence someone threw at you in the middle of the afternoon, your pain now might not come from that one sentence anymore. It comes from the dozens of explanations you have added. They must look down on me. They probably do not respect me at all. From now on, they will slowly pull away from me. In reality, they said one sentence, maybe without much thought, and then kept going with their life. The rest is your sensitive imagination continuing to write the script. When you look at it like that, the boundary Epictetus talks about starts to appear. Their sentence is something you cannot erase, cannot take back, cannot edit. But the story you tell yourself about that sentence, that is the area you can still touch. Lying in the dark, you can try to notice, among all the spinning thoughts, what belongs in the category "I am adding extra layers," and what is just the bare event that already happened. Just separating it like that makes things a little lighter, because the part you are adding, you can learn to retell, or gently stop telling at all in a very kind way. Imagine there are two invisible baskets in front of you, one for things I can adjust, the other for things that are not in my hands tonight. You do not have to write anything down. Just let your mind place things in quietly. Maybe you remember an argument, a tense message. The part you can place into your own basket is this: tomorrow, when I am clearer, I can apologize if I went too far. Or I can express what I really meant. The rest, how the other person will react, whether they forgive you or not, whether they understand you or not, has to go into the other basket. Even if you stay up all night, you cannot sneak into their mind and adjust their feelings to match what you want, or you are worried about money and work. The things that can stay in your basket look like this: I can learn more. I can do my current job as well as I can. I can look for other options. I can ask people with more experience. But the way the economy goes up and down, how the company changes, whether people value your effort or not, that is an area where you do not hold the keys. Seeing this does not magically make everything fine, but it gives you back something very important that anxious nights often steal: the feeling that you still have a say in at least one part of the story. A lot of your exhaustion comes from reaching beyond your own range, while right inside the small area you truly manage, how you breathe, how you speak to yourself, whether you treat your body kindly or not, you leave it unattended. Place your hand on your chest, feel your heartbeat under your palm. Notice that at least one thing tonight is working steadily for you without asking you to worry about it. Your heart does not need you to stay awake for it to keep beating. Your breath does not need you to control every single inhale and exhale. It keeps going in and out on its own. In a very simple sense, life has already lifted a huge part of the load for you. You are not the one manually running everything. So what is really left on your desk tonight might be much smaller than you think. Maybe it is just this: I choose not to scold myself anymore. I choose to say something truly comforting to myself instead of shouting slogans. I choose to breathe in deeply and breathe out slowly. Not because it is a technique, but because it is the only thing I can really do right now, on this bed, in this room. Epictetus never told you to become numb in front of everything. He simply reminded you that if you spend all your energy pushing against walls that never move, you will have no strength left to turn the doorknob of the doors that can actually open. Marcus and Seneca are the same. They were not born into a peaceful world. They wrote those lines in the middle of war, disease, loss, betrayal. And still, they kept finding their way back inside. Back to the small steering wheel they did hold. How they thought, what they chose to care about, how they accepted the big waves that did not belong to them. If people like that, in such intense times, had to admit they could not control as much as they wanted, then maybe you, in your small room with the worries of this era, do not have to strain yourself more than they did. Try being softer with yourself. Try saying, "All right, I cannot worry on behalf of every worst-case scenario anymore. I will keep only what is really my part for tomorrow. The rest I will hand over to life, to time." It sounds vague, but sometimes that simple admission, "I do not have control over everything," is the greatest act of control you have. You choose not to grip what cannot be held. Tonight, if you start to hear Epictetus' sentence drifting through your mind, some things are in our control and others not. Let it stay there like a very quiet background track. It does not need to shout, it only needs to whisper. Each time a new worry appears, look at it and ask, which basket do you belong in? If it belongs to the things you cannot touch right now, you can speak to it politely. I will meet you when I can actually do something about you. Tonight I am going to rest. You are not avoiding it. You are simply refusing to pay with your sleep for things that never had your name on the bill. And from that small attitude, night after night, your mind will slowly relearn how to assign work. So it stops making you work overtime for worries that were never really yours to handle. There is a very quiet kind of violence that many kind, gentle people live with every day. Most of the time, they are the ones putting it on themselves. It shows up when you try to control everything, every person, every outcome, every possibility and scenario in your head. As if the moment you relax even a little, your whole life will collapse. It is not loud like shouting. It is not dramatic like a big argument. It is more like carrying a backpack that is way too heavy for many years until you forget what it feels like to walk with empty hands. You are not mistaken. It is exactly because you are responsible, because you care, because you do not want to disappoint anyone. That is why you slip into this cycle so easily. You do not just want to do your part well, you also want to arrange everyone else's emotions, the final outcome, society's reaction, the opinions of people whose names have never once appeared in your real life. You send a message, and instead of just waiting for a reply, you start mapping out 10 different paths. What if they answer coldly? What if they do not answer at all? What if they misunderstand? What if from now on they slowly distance themselves from me? You go to work, and instead of focusing on the quality of what you are doing, you keep thinking, what does my boss really think of me? Are my coworkers judging me? If the company cuts people in a few months, will my name be on that list? You are in a relationship, and instead of letting it move at a natural pace between two people, you are scanning like a radar all the time. Do they still truly love me? What did they really mean by that? If one day they leave, how should I prepare myself? All those questions sound thoughtful on the surface, careful, responsible. But if you look closely, they have one thing in common. Most of them do not sit in your hands. Seneca said, "He suffers more than necessary, who suffers before it is necessary." We suffer more than we need to when we start hurting ourselves before anything has even happened. Every time you try to control what is coming by worrying in advance, you are quietly punishing your body and your mind. You are making them pay ahead of time for something you may not even buy. The ironic part is this: the more you try to predict every possible outcome, the less safe life feels. Because the human imagination never stops at bad enough. It always knows how to invent something worse. So you start as someone who wants to protect yourself, and slowly you become the one burning yourself out. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "Today I escaped anxiety." Or no, I discarded it, because it was within me, in my own perceptions, not outside. Some things you think are pressure from outside are actually the lenses you are wearing. The outside world might not change, but the way you interpret it, the way you talk to yourself about it, that is what tightens around your chest. When you believe that everything has to be under control, then every time reality does not follow the script you wrote, you take it as your fault, as proof that you did not try hard enough, were not good enough, were not alert enough. The quiet violence lives exactly there. You do not allow yourself to have limits. You do not allow yourself to say, "This part is not my job." You use very familiar sentences to press yourself down. I should have seen this coming. I should have prevented this. I should have prepared more. I should not have trusted that person. Those should have lines, if you look closely, all point towards something that does not exist. A version of you who is all-powerful, who always knows in advance, always chooses correctly, never makes a mistake. You build that image of yourself, then use it like a stick to hit yourself every time life goes another way. So even when things are not actually that bad, you still feel a sting. Not because reality is unbearable, but because you are measuring yourself against a standard no one can reach. Epictetus is very clear. When something happens, the only thing in your power is your attitude toward it. You can either accept it or resent it. When something has already happened, the only thing you truly still hold is your attitude. You can choose to accept it as part of life. or you can choose to resent it and fight inside it. But if you are obsessed with control, you often walk a third path. You blame yourself for not stopping it. In the end, you are not only hurt by the event, you are hurt by the sentence you pronounce on yourself afterward. This quiet violence also shows up in the way you treat your body. You know you are tired, but you still sit in front of the screen a bit longer because it is not done yet. I cannot relax. You know you are stressed, but you do not allow yourself to rest because if I slow down, I will fall behind. You see very clear signs, headaches, nausea, shortness of breath, and you still tell yourself, just push a little more, it will be fine after this phase. But this phase keeps following another phase, then another. Your body does not have the option to swap out parts like a machine. It answers you with nights of insomnia, with sharp little pains in your chest, with moments when you cry and do not even know exactly why. You can be so gentle with other people and tell them not to push themselves too hard. Yet with yourself, you become the strictest boss, the harshest lover, the inner parent who always has another item on the checklist. You think that if you put one thing down, everything will fall apart. But you forget one thing. A lot of things stand not because you are holding them, but because they have their own structure. Relationships do not exist only because you predict every feeling the other person might have. They also exist because of honesty and because you give them space to be themselves. Work does not run only because you stay up later than everyone else. It runs on systems, on other people, on many factors outside you. Life does not collapse just because you are not in control of every detail. Admitting that does not make you weak. It simply takes some weight off your back. Do you remember the last time you truly allowed yourself to not control something? An afternoon when you went outside with no detailed plan. You just walked around your neighborhood and let your feet decide. A conversation where you did not prepare the answers in advance. You just listened and responded from whatever you really felt. A small situation where you accepted that it might turn out a little worse than you hoped, because you no longer had the energy to make everything perfect. Very often those moments are when you breathe the deepest, not because you stopped being responsible, but because you stopped confusing responsibility with power. Responsibility is doing your part well. Power is the illusion that you can also control everyone else's part, the environment's part, fate's part. At its core, Stoicism does not teach you to be careless and let everything fall however it wants. It teaches you to see clearly where you can actually step in and where you can only receive what comes. The dichotomy of control is not a fancy idea to sound wise. It is a very practical break for the minds of good people who crush themselves. Every time you see yourself starting to write another bad scenario, you can ask, what am I really trying to do right now? Am I protecting myself, or am I trying to control something that is not mine to control? The answer may touch your pride a little, because it suggests that sometimes inside your worry, there is also a hint of pride. The pride of believing you have to watch over everything, that if you relax, everything will fall. Looking straight at that is not an invitation to shame yourself. It is an invitation to gently set down the all-powerful me and make room for someone more honest, a normal human being with limits, who is still fully worthy. Tonight, as you lie in the dark, you may catch yourself about to step into another round of control. More thinking, more planning, more worrying. Right at that moment, try pausing for half a beat and ask, if I do not control this further, will everything definitely explode? Or am I just afraid of not knowing in advance? Very often, what you fear is not the result itself. You fear the feeling of not being warned ahead of time. But life, no matter how much you worry, will always keep a part of surprise for itself. Learning to live with that surprise is tiring, but it is much lighter than trying to break open the backstage door just to peek at the script. You deserve nights where your only job is not to be the guard of every possibility. Your only job is to be the owner of a tired body that needs rest. The rest you can slowly relearn. You can slowly teach yourself that you do not have to use quiet violence on your own soul just to feel like everything is under control. From the place where you can see how much you have been hurting yourself by trying to control everything, a very natural question starts to appear. So in the middle of all the things that are draining me, is there anything that truly belongs to me? Or am I just a passenger on the train of life, pulled wherever it decides to go? That sense of helplessness can feel even heavier than the worries themselves, because if there is nothing you can really hold on to, then what is the point of trying, right? But it is exactly here that Epictetus puts down a very important stone. The chief task in life is simply this: to identify and separate matters so that I can say clearly to myself which are externals not under my control, and which have to do with the choices I actually control. Your main task in life is not to hold everything. It is to recognize and separate. So you remember that there is still a small but very real area where you are the one who decides. Not the power to decide who will love you or leave, not the power to control what tomorrow will bring, but the power to choose who you will be when you meet all of that. You cannot choose the wave, but you always have some say in how you stand in front of it, curling into yourself and pretending not to see, or accepting that you are a small body learning how to keep your balance. When you are lying in the dark, try looking back at your day. Not from the angle of what did I accomplish, but from the angle of how many times did I have a chance to choose and how did I choose? In the morning, you cannot control the weather, rain or sun. You cannot control traffic, jammed or clear. You cannot control other people's moods, but you do have one tiny choice. When someone throws a harsh sentence at you, do you hand yourself over to your old reflex, attack yourself, or throw your walls up right away? Or do you allow yourself one deeper breath, a small delay, so you do not answer from a sudden spike of anger? In the middle of the day, you cannot control whether coworkers or family members truly understand your heart. But you can choose how you talk to yourself. It means I am useless. Or, yeah, I was a little off today. It is okay. I can learn from it next time. At night, you cannot control what people post online or how someone else's life looks shinier than yours. But you can choose to keep scrolling and comparing until you feel empty. Or you can put the phone down a few minutes earlier and give yourself a little space. All those choices sound so small, but they are exactly where your hand actually touches something real. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Your soul is dyed by the color of the thoughts you repeat. You are not your circumstances, but you slowly become the way you speak to yourself every day. And the way you speak to yourself is one thing you can adjust, little by little, night after night. When anxiety walks in, your old reflex might be, "Here we go again. I am so weak. Why can I never grow up?" But if tonight, just this time, you try to change that line into, "Okay, my mind is trying to protect me again in the only way it knows. It is clumsy, it is overdoing it, but I understand." In that moment when you change your tone, you take back part of your own territory. You are no longer just the victim of your inner voice. You become the one shaping it. The outside event has not changed, but the content of the conversation in your head is different, even if only a little. And that part no one else can do for you. You might ask, if I focus too much on what is inside, am I just escaping reality? The Stoics are not asking you to turn your back on life. They are reminding you to return to the only thing you can carry from the beginning to the end: your character, your moral choices, your attitude toward hardship. Tomorrow you still have to go to work. You still have to face the emails, the messages, the responsibilities. No one is going to erase them for you. But in that whole journey, there is one thing that no one can take unless you give it up: your right to choose whether you will act with decency or give up on yourself, whether you let disappointment make you bitter or deeper, whether you let fear make you small or quietly walk forward with it beside you. That part is yours. On sleepless nights like this, instead of reaching further and further out, you can turn back inward and ask a closer question. If tomorrow everything stays exactly the same, who do I want to be inside that frame? Not what do I want to happen, but how do I want to live in the middle of what is happening? That question sounds abstract, but when you place it inside small details, it becomes very concrete. When you are misunderstood, do you choose to hide and disappear? Or do you choose to speak up as calmly as you can? When a plan does not work out, do you choose to tear yourself apart with criticism? Or do you pull one lesson from it and allow yourself to move on without being perfect? You cannot force other people to respect you, but you can stop playing in spaces where basic respect does not exist. You cannot make life follow the exact route you imagined, but you can choose not to betray the values you believe in even when everything is messy. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Freedom does not come from controlling everything outside you. It comes from not being carried away by every gust of emotion, every impulsive reaction, every fear of what other people think. Being master of yourself does not mean you are always calm. It does not mean you always know what you are doing. It means that every time you notice fear has taken the wheel, you are willing to gently take it back. No yelling at yourself, no insults. Just an honest, "All right, I slipped into an old pattern. It is okay. I am coming back now." The only thing that lets you do that is attention. Attention, the way you turn your awareness toward what is happening inside, instead of only chasing what is loudest outside. And that attention tonight is fully in your hands. You can glue it to the worst case scenarios in your head. Or right now, you can give it a different anchor. The feeling of the blanket against your skin, the sound of the fan turning, the breath moving in and out through your nose. When you bring your attention back to your body, it is not to practice a technique. It is to remind yourself of something very simple. At the most basic level, you are still alive. You are still being held by processes that do not need your worry to keep going. Out of all the things you cannot control, there is always one thing you can touch. The way you treat yourself in this exact moment. You can talk to yourself the way you would talk to a small child who is scared, gentle, clear, unhurried. Or you can talk to yourself like a failure who deserves punishment. That choice does not belong to anyone else. It does not belong to your circumstances. It does not belong to your past. It belongs to you. And every time you choose the kinder way, you slowly begin to re-dye your soul, just like Marcus said. On the outside, your life may not change much after one night. Your job is the same. Your relationships are the same. The uncertainties still do not have clear answers. But on the inside, if you start to move from, I have to hold everything to feel safe, to, I will do my part well and let the rest sit where it belongs, then step by step, your experience of living shifts. You no longer walk into life with the burden of controlling it all. You walk in with the clarity of someone who knows, this is my work, that is life's work. That does not erase worry, but it changes its shape. Each time worry arrives, instead of being a storm that sweeps you away, it becomes more like a wave you know how to stand through a little better. And as you live in that direction, day by day, week by week, you will touch a very strange feeling. Life is still as uncertain as before, but inside you are less off balance. Not because things became easier, but because you stopped trying to be the gatekeeper of everything that was never yours. And you return to being the guardian of what has always been in your hands, your choices, your attitude, and the way you hold yourself on nights like this. When you start to see more clearly what is truly in your hands, the way you think, the way you respond, the way you treat yourself, it is also time to face a truth that stings a little, but is deeply freeing. There's a very long list of things you have always assumed were your responsibility, that in reality never belonged to you at all. These are the things you have spent years trying to change, to fix, to save, to hold on to predict. And all you received in return was more exhaustion. Epictetus said, "Do not seek to have events happen as you wish, but wish them to happen as they do happen, and your life will go smoothly." It sounds like a simple slogan, but if you place it on the very things that are weighing on your chest right now, you will see he is pointing directly at one area, the area of things you keep trying to control even though they never signed up to carry your name. The clearest and closest example is other people's thoughts and feelings. You can treat them with honesty. You can express yourself clearly. You can apologize when you are wrong. You can make an effort to listen. But you cannot decide how they will understand you. You cannot decide what place they will give you in their life. You cannot decide how much they will love you or how long they will stay. How many nights have you lost sleep over a message that was seen but not answered? Over a sentence that felt colder than usual, over a plan being postponed. And you instantly translate all of it into, they are tired of me. I do not matter. There is probably someone better than me now. In reality, most of those stories are happening in your head. They are not inside your control. You do not run the program inside another person's mind, but you still make your heart and your stomach pay the price as if you did something wrong by not being able to control it. On the list of things that do not belong to you, the past is there too. You can learn from it. You can apologize if you have the chance. You can make up your part by choosing better in the present. But you cannot rewrite old scenes. Gyan hu luksh jo min. If only I had done this back then. Sounds deep at first, but if you listen closely, it is pulling you back into a movie that finished a long time ago. Seneca reminds us, what's done is done. What has happened has happened. The only thing you still hold is who you choose to become after it has passed. But because your mind is so used to controlling, it keeps wanting to go back into the editing room, change the lines, adjust the lighting, rebuild the scene. As if thinking about it long enough could somehow make the past feel less wrong. How many times have you lain awake at night replaying one moment, changing the words you said, imagining that if you had reacted differently, everything would have turned out better? Maybe that is true, maybe it is not. But one thing is certain. Even if you think about it another 1,000 times, that scene will not come back for you to reshoot. Time is not under your command. You only have the present. And it is the way you live with the present that gives the past a new meaning. Not the times you torture yourself with what could have been. Then there is the future, the richest soil for worry to grow. You worry about money, career, health, family, about all the what-ifs that do not even have a shape yet. You make plans, set goals, outline paths. That is healthy. But at some point, you cross the line. You move from preparing into trying to control. And that is exactly where you start paying a price. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Never let the future disturb you. You will meet it, if you have to, with the same reason you are using now to deal with the present. The future will arrive, and when it does, you will meet it with the same clarity you are using right now, if you allow yourself to train that clarity in this moment. But you cannot live in advance for all the days that have not come. You cannot act ahead of time for situations that do not exist yet. You cannot prepare so perfectly that life has no surprises left to bring you. The feeling that if I worry in advance, it will hurt less later is a very human illusion, but still an illusion. You worry beforehand, and if the thing happens, it still hurts. The only difference is that you have hurt twice instead of once. There is another area people often confuse: the image of yourself in other people's eyes. You want to be respected. You want to be seen accurately. You want people to recognize the quiet effort you put in. That is not wrong. But whether they see it, whether they judge fairly, whether they speak well of you, that does not belong to you. You can live with integrity. You can work with care. You can speak with responsibility. But you cannot block every rumor. You cannot fix every distorted view. You cannot force everyone to value you exactly the way you value yourself. Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. If you want to grow, you need to accept that someone will think you are foolish or naive." This is not about throwing away your dignity. It is a reminder that you cannot control what lives in each person's head. The more you try to correct, to explain, to please everyone, the further you walk from your real work, living honestly with what you believe is right. In relationships, you have also done many things that are not really your job, trying to heal someone else instead of healing yourself. Staying beside someone even when you are empty, because you believe that if you leave, they will collapse. Trying to make a relationship worth keeping even after it has crossed your safety line many times. You forget that whether another person chooses to heal, to mature, to take responsibility for themselves, that is their work. You can support. You cannot be the only pillar holding everything up. Fate leads the willing and drags the unwilling. That line, often attributed to Seneca, is a very gentle reminder. Fate leads those who are willing to walk with it, and drags those who fight against what they cannot change. Every time you try to hold on to things that are not yours, other people's feelings, other people's decisions, a result that is already final, a past that is already closed, you are letting yourself be dragged, sore, burned, exhausted, and slowly more confused between loving others and abandoning yourself. Tonight, imagine two piles of things in front of you. One pile is made of things that will continue on their own, even if you put them down. Other people's thoughts, what has already happened, events outside your reach, rumors, opinions, things that have not arrived yet. That pile, strangely, will not fall apart if you stop holding it. It may remain chaotic, unfair, and not what you want, but it never actually needed you as its gatekeeper. The other pile, much smaller, is made of things that change the moment you touch them. The attitude you choose tomorrow, the words you say to yourself tonight, the way you decide to live with your limits, the way you stop or continue allowing others to cross your boundaries. This pile, if you ignore it, it withers. If you care for it, it grows. And this is the part of life that truly belongs to you. When you cling to things that are not yours, you abandon the only part you can actually nurture. Try to remember the times when you did put down something that felt huge. You accepted that a certain person would never apologize in the way you imagined. You accepted that a chance had passed, and instead of obsessing, you turned back to what was still with you. You accepted that some people would always misunderstand you, and you stopped trying to prove yourself to them. Those moments at first hurt like having something pulled out of you, but in the long run, they gave you something real in return. Space, room to breathe, room to listen to yourself, room to rebuild your life on what is actually in your hands. Letting go here does not mean throwing everything away, pretending you do not care, or acting tough. Letting go means looking directly at something and admitting that it is not under your ownership. So you choose not to spend more time and health holding it like a debt you must repay. You can still feel sad, you can still feel regret, you can still miss what was. That is the human part of you. But underneath those feelings, you begin to place a new decision. I am not going to live as if I am the owner of things that never called my name. Tonight, every time a thought pulls you toward what you cannot change, the words already spoken, the people already gone, the results already fixed, you can treat it like an old visitor dropping by. You can smile softly and say, I know you, but this house is small now. I am saving space for the things I can truly care for. Then you turn back to your breath, to the feeling of the blanket on your skin, to the heartbeat under your hand. Those things are small, but they are whispering something important to you. In a world full of things that do not belong to you, there is still a small area you can call mine. And from that place, your tomorrow is rewoven. Not from the obsession of trying to control everything, but from the calm of knowing what to hold and what to release. By now, when you have a rough sense of what truly belongs to you and what never carried your name, the next question almost asks itself, so how do I let go? It sounds simple, but anyone who has ever tried to let go knows that if you try to let go with the mindset that you must win, must cut it off, must forget immediately, it only turns into another battle. You just change the target. You are used to bracing yourself to stay in control, so when you decide to let go, you unconsciously brace yourself to let go successfully. Your body and your mind fall into a new kind of tension. In reality, letting go in a Stoic way is not about erasing anything. It is not about forcing yourself to feel nothing. It is about changing how you hold things. Instead of gripping something so tightly that your nails leave marks in your skin, you loosen your hand little by little until it can close naturally without needing to squeeze anymore. Seneca said, "He who is brave is free." Brave here does not mean rushing in to fix everything. It means having enough courage to see something exactly as it is, to admit that you cannot change its part, and to stop fighting that fact so hard. Epictetus also reminds us, remember that you are an actor in a drama of such sort as the author chooses. If short, then in a short one. If long, then in a long one. If he wishes you to act a poor man or a cripple or a ruler or a private citizen, see that you act it finely. You are not writing the whole script, but you can always choose how you play the role you are given. Letting go is not quitting the role. It is stopping the attempt to steal the writer's chair. On nights when your eyes are wide open, the idea of letting go feels vague. So start with something very small and concrete. You are lying here. A name appears, a face, an old story. Instead of diving straight into analysis, explanations, defense, or new fantasies, try pausing for half a beat and simply naming what you feel. Okay, I am missing someone. Okay, I am scared. Okay, I feel regret. That is all. No judgment, no extra line like, I should not feel this way. When you name a feeling, you have already stepped half a step back from it. You move from being swallowed by it to being the one who sees it. That is the first step of letting go, not throwing it away, but not merging with it either. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. The pain often does not come from what happened. It comes from the way you label it. And that label, you are allowed to review it. Letting go is not denying that you hurt. It is stopping the extra story that makes the hurt grow bigger and bigger. There are events where every time you bring them up, you automatically attach a whole bundle of tags. Humiliating, failure, abandoned, betrayed. Tonight, if something like that comes up, try peeling a few of those labels off. Let it sit as a bare fact. Yes, that day they left. Yes, I was not chosen. Yes, that plan fell apart. When you stop attaching those absolute conclusions, your mind can breathe a little more easily because it no longer has to carry extra sentences like, I am not worthy or I am nothing. Letting go is stopping that extra attachment, not pretending the event never happened. You might think, if I do not hold on tightly, am I making it seem unimportant? It is the opposite. When you do not have to hold and perform at the same time, you can finally face it at its real size. A loss is a loss. It does not need to become a life sentence over your whole story. A failure is a failure. It does not need the added line, I am always like this. Real gentleness with yourself starts here. It is not saying, it is nothing, get over it. It is saying, yes, that hurt me, but I am not going to keep kicking the same wound. In relationships, letting go is sometimes accepting that there are apologies you will never hear, reasons you will never know, questions that you will have to put a period on yourself instead of waiting for someone else to answer. That is not easy. It is like standing on a shore watching a boat drift away without knowing where it is going. Your chest is full of things you still want to ask and say, but if you stand there staring at the horizon forever, you miss the sand under your feet, the water touching your ankles, the other waves coming and going. You cannot call that boat back by force of will. What you can learn is how to turn your face back toward the shore, the place where you actually live. That is letting go. Shifting your attention from what is out of reach back to what is still here with you. Another important truth, letting go does not always happen once and for all. Some stories will ask you to let go many times. Each time they appear, you gently remind yourself, this is still not in my hands. Each time you do that, you're not failing. You're training a new muscle in your mind, the way you train your body to learn a new movement. Seneca wrote to Lucilius, "We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more from imagination than from reality. Every time you release one imagined scene, you reduce one layer of fear. And every time fear thins out, your hands feel a little lighter, light enough that you do not have to dig your nails into everything that passes through your life just to feel safe." Sometimes letting go also means accepting that you will never know exactly how things end, and still choosing to live decently in the part of the story where you are standing now. You do what is right, not to guarantee a pleasant outcome, but because that is the kind of person you want to be no matter what happens. You love not to tie someone down, but so that whether they stay or go, you do not regret how you showed up. You try not to avoid every fall, but so that when you look at yourself in the mirror after you fall, you can still meet your own eyes without shame. Those are the things that live in your hands. How life reacts to them does not. Letting go is putting down the part that does not belong to you, so you have enough hands left for what does. And among all the ways to let go, the gentlest often starts with the body. While you listen to these words, notice where your body is. Are your shoulders creeping up? Are your teeth clenched? Is your forehead tight? Very often, the body is exhausted long before the mind agrees to release anything. Try dropping your shoulders a little. Turn your head slightly to one side so your neck can soften. Unclench your jaw. Allow one long breath to travel its full path. In, pause for a second, and out. Each time you breathe like that, imagine setting down one tiny thing that is not yours. You do not have to name it, just feel the inner gesture. I am not carrying everything anymore. Epictetus gives a very down-to-earth image. When you kiss your child, say to yourself that it may die tomorrow. His point is not to live in constant gloom. It is to remember that everything is on loan, so you can love fully in the present without gripping so hard that you cannot accept change. Letting go does not kill feeling. It makes love less possessive, less demanding, less like a chain for you and for others. When you can tell yourself, I love, I value, but I do not own, you are putting down one of the heaviest illusions. The illusion that you have the right to keep everything exactly as you want forever. Tonight, letting go might be as simple as accepting that your mind will continue to wander for a while. But you do not have to follow it down every hallway. It wants to build more scenes. Let it build. You can watch a few frames and then come back to your breath. It pulls an old story onto the screen. Let it play. You do not have to stay glued to the seat in that inner theater. You cannot switch off the movie. But you can step out of the screening room inside you for a moment and walk toward the place where there is a small light and the sound of air moving through the window. The place where the present moment is happening. And that simple turning back will carry you into the next stretch of this night's journey. The part where you return to small, ordinary things. The only place where worry has no room to invent more, because there is only what is actually here with you right now. After each small layer of release you have just practiced, putting down what is not yours, loosening your hand from what you can no longer hold, a very strange kind of space starts to open inside. The past is not pulling you back as fiercely. The future is not building scene after scene in your head. There is just this right now that seems so poor, but is actually the only thing you truly have. Until this point, your mind has been walking in many directions. This person, that situation, a chance you lost, a risk that has not arrived yet. It is like wandering around a strange city. Now try letting it come back home. Home, which is the room you are lying in, the body you have been carrying from day to day. The heartbeat still tapping away no matter what you think. The breath still moving in and out no matter how tired you are. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, confine yourself to the present. It sounds like something a person says after some great realization. But if you place it in this exact moment, it is a very simple invitation. Come back to what is actually happening. The warmth of the blanket on your skin, the feeling of the pillow in your arms, the steady sound of the fan, a few soft noises outside the window, the rise and fall of your chest. None of these are some abstract mindfulness technique. They are proof that even when your head is running everywhere, life is still happening here. In small, gentle, slow details, you can try a very light experiment. For the next few breaths, do nothing except notice. As you breathe in, say quietly inside, I am here. As you breathe out, say quietly, I am still here. No need to count to 4 or 6, no need to follow any strict method. Just use your breath as a tiny anchor, tying your mind back to your body. You're not trying to chase thoughts away. You are simply giving them a ground to fall onto. A thought about work appears, you still hear it. But instead of jumping in, you come back to the feeling of your chest expanding on the in-breath, your belly softening on the out-breath. A fear about the future rises. You do not push it away. You just notice, right, it is here again. And then bring your attention back to the feeling of the sheet touching your legs. Each time you do that, you are doing exactly what those philosophers were saying in another language. You are giving reality back its place at the center instead of letting imagination take up all the space. Seneca wrote, "Life is very short and anxious for those who forget the past, neglect the present, and fear the future." Life becomes shortest and heaviest when we forget what the past has already given us, ignore the present that is right here, and only fear what has not come. Tonight, you do not have to fix all three. You only need to do one small thing. Stop abandoning the present. The present does not demand success from you. It does not ask you to pay debts. It does not force you to have answers. The present only asks that you be here with it in this very ordinary second. When you allow yourself to stay fully with a moment, even one that feels too simple to matter, you are doing one of the bravest things you can do. You stop running, you stop repairing, you stop resisting, you simply receive. Epictetus said, "It is not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them." In this moment, when you just feel the surface of the blanket, the weight of your body on the mattress, the steady sound of the fan, there are no opinions. The blanket is just the blanket. The fan is just the fan. The breath is just the breath. None of these things demand worry from you. None of them force you to react. They are like a still background where your mind can finally sit down. You can take one step more. Gently sweep your attention from the top of your head down to your toes, not to check what is wrong or painful, but as if you are visiting each part of your body after a long day and saying, "I see you." Your forehead might be a little tight. You notice it and let it soften a bit. Your eyes might be dry from looking at a screen too long. You let them close slowly. Your shoulders might be raised from habit. You let them drop deeper into the mattress. Your stomach might be clenched from worrying. You allow it to rise slightly with the in-breath and fall with the out-breath. Every small part of this body has been used to run, to endure, to carry. Now, in the dark, you are giving it at least one thing it deserves: your full presence, without judgment, without asking it to do more. When you return to your body like this, you are doing something very stoic without even labeling it. You are taking the power to define who I am away from outside variables: job, performance, praise, stories other people tell, and placing it back in the simplest spot. I am the one who is breathing here right now. The roles you play, child, friend, coworker, partner, person who is trying hard, can be heavy. But behind all of them, there's a part of you that is just a tired human being who needs rest. Admitting that does not make you less. It makes you more real. In this present moment, you do not need to worry about being interesting enough, strong enough, capable enough. You only need to be honest enough to say, "Today I pushed myself a bit too far. Now I want to pause." And that alone is a choice that sits firmly inside your area of control. You may also notice something else. Most of the things you are worried about are not in this room. The person you are thinking about is not standing next to your bed. The emails you fear are not floating around your ceiling. Money, deadlines, judgments, they are all outside the door. Here, in this actual space, there is only you, the blanket, the pillow, a few small sounds. If there is any weight on your chest, it is coming in through an invisible doorway: your mind. When you pull your attention back to what is really here, and you remember with Marcus, observe always that everything is the result of change, and get used to thinking that there is nothing nature loves so well as to change existing forms and to make new ones like them. You begin to see something. Everything you worry about is just a temporary shape, like figures moving across a screen. They arrive, stay for a while, then fade. The present moment, if you are willing to sit with it, will also change, from tight to softer, from crowded with thoughts to a little quieter. But it can only change if you are actually here. You cannot expect yourself to be calmer while all your attention is planted in tomorrow. Tonight, coming back to the present is not some complicated meditation routine. It is a series of very ordinary choices. Instead of one more round of scrolling, you set your phone aside and let your eyes be fully in the dark. Instead of getting up to turn on the light, you let your body stay where it is and give the darkness a chance to hold you. Instead of scolding yourself for overthinking again, you tell yourself one simple line: "It is okay. I am just learning how to live differently." With each small choice, you are turning the wheel from living in my head to living in my body. And right here, something gentle begins to happen. When you are busy enough being here in this moment, you have less energy to drift into other timelines. Worry about the future and obsession with the past both need one kind of food: your attention. If you feed them less, they grow weaker. You do not have to chase them away, you just stop feeding them. Notice how, whenever you are fully absorbed in something, listening to a song, doodling, walking, washing dishes, worry temporarily steps back. Not because life suddenly has no problems, but because in that moment, all of you is with what you are doing, and there is nothing left over to build more stories. Even if what you are doing is simply lying still and breathing. If you are there completely, your mind gets a chance to rest too, tonight's journey from Epictetus to Marcus, from sorting what is in your hands to learning to put down what is not, has been leading you back here, to the only place you can ever start again, no matter how messy the day has been. The present does not promise to fix everything from yesterday. It does not guarantee that tomorrow will be smooth. It gives you one small gift, the chance to choose differently in this single breath. And if in this breath you choose to be gentler with yourself, to pause the invisible meeting in your head, to let your body rest, then even if nothing outside has changed yet, the inside is already a little different. From that small difference, slowly, your tomorrow, when it comes, will feel a little less heavy. And that feeling will open the way for the next part. How you walk into tomorrow without carrying a whole warehouse of worry on your back, only the few things that truly are your work to carry. But that is for later, for the morning. Right now, the only thing you need to do is close your eyes, let your breath move the way it already knows how, and allow yourself to stay fully in this moment. Not to impress anyone, not to tick off a new habit, just to honor one simple truth. This is the only place where you are really alive. When your mind is no longer running toward every story it cannot touch, and your body starts to soften into the mattress, something very natural comes knocking. Tomorrow. No matter how much you try to hide from it, morning still comes. The alarm still rings. Responsibilities are still there, waiting. The Stoics do not tell you to forget all of that. They do not tell you to live as if tomorrow does not exist. They simply invite you to carry tomorrow differently, with a lighter hand, a truer hand, one that matches the limits of a human being. Instead of stuffing every possible outcome, good, bad, gain, loss, into one invisible backpack like you always do, you begin to sort. What is truly your work? And what is something you can only meet when it arrives? You do not walk into tomorrow like a soldier who has to control the whole battlefield. You walk in more like a clear-headed person in a small boat. You prepare well, but you know very clearly that no one commands the water. Epictetus said, "Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens." That line can become something you actually carry, not just a quote that looks good on a wall. Best use, doing your best with what you have, not perfect use, never making a mistake. Take the rest as it happens, receiving what comes as it comes. Not endure it in bitterness because life did not follow your script. Tomorrow may still be full of things you cannot predict. A sudden message, an email that disappoints you, an opportunity that arrives at a bad time, a plan that has to change. But if tonight, right here in bed before sleep, you make a small agreement with yourself, I will only carry 3 things: what I believe is right, the effort I can honestly give, and the way I talk to myself in every situation, then the rest has less power to own you. You cannot guarantee that everything will go smoothly. You can only guarantee this: whether it goes well or badly, you will not abandon yourself. Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Very simple. But if you use that as a frame for tomorrow, many of the worries in your head will quietly fall away. You no longer need to ask, will they think I am impressive, edgy, smart? You only need to ask, is what I'm about to do in line with the values I want to live by? Is what I'm about to say true to my heart? When your measure shifts from, how will they judge me, to, is this true for me? You take back a very large piece of your freedom. That freedom does not mean you get everything you want. It means you are no longer torn apart by 100 outside standards. You come back to a much simpler compass, right or wrong, true or false, within the space you understand and can take responsibility for. Then there is work, study, and all the things that demand you move forward in a very real world. Instead of dragging into tomorrow the weight of, I have to succeed, I have to keep up, I am not allowed to fail, you can carry a different line. Tomorrow I will do my best within the time I have and the state I am in. It sounds less ambitious, but it lets you try and still breathe. It does not tell you to slack off, it just does not ask you to play God. When you accept that you can only do your best inside the conditions you actually have, you feel less need to do one useless extra job. Beating yourself up every time things do not look perfect. Real discipline does not need a whip, it needs clarity. This is the direction I am moving in. This is what I can do today. The final result, grades, salary, titles, opinions, will come out of thousands of factors beyond my control. You can lie here and picture something gentle. Tomorrow may still be tiring and full, but if you walk into it with the lighter back, without carrying, I must be recognized, I must be loved in the exact way I want, I must not make a mistake, and you carry only this intention instead, I will be kind to the work I do, to the people I meet, and to myself. Would your breathing feel different? Hard things may still happen, but you do not have to fight the whole world and fight yourself at the same time. There's another small thing you can change, the way you schedule your worries. You cannot forbid yourself from worrying, but you can stop giving worry full access to every empty space. Some people use a very simple trick. They set aside a fixed time during the day, 10 or 15 minutes, to sit down and write out what is bothering them. They look at those worries on paper, they sort them. What can I act on? What has to stay on hold? When night comes and an old worry shows up again, they gently remind themselves, I already booked time with you in the daytime. Tonight is not your working hours. It sounds almost silly, but it is another form of the dichotomy of control. You cannot control that worries exist. You can control how much time you give them. You can try this in your own way. You do not have to write anything. Right now, in your heart, you can speak to all the things spilling out. Tomorrow, when I am clearer, I will sit down and look at you one by one and see what I can do. For now, I am going to sleep. If you can wait until tomorrow, then you are my responsibility. If you cannot wait until tomorrow, you are never mine to handle. That is not irresponsibility. It is a different kind of responsibility. Responsibility for your body and your mind, the only tools you have to do anything for this life. A young person today might ask, if I slow down and handle myself more gently, will I fall behind? That question is very real. You are living in a world where everyone speaks fast, moves fast, shows off fast. But if you look at the people the Stoics came from, people who lived through war, plague, exile, you will see they were not slow or passive. They acted a lot. They carried a lot. The difference was this: they knew the limits of action. They did not demand that action give them everything. They only demanded one thing from their actions, that those actions were true to their humanity. The rest they handed over to time, to events, to what they called fate or nature. Fate leads the willing and drags the unwilling. If you are willing to walk with it, life pulls you with less brutality. Willing here does not mean giving up. It means accepting that there are stretches of road you cannot pave in advance. You only walk as far as you can see, and you use the calm you have trained on nights like this, so you do not panic when the ground gets rough. Your tomorrow may still be busy, but imagine it again, just a little. You wake up knowing there are things outside your control, but you no longer see them as enemies, just as variables you will meet. You eat breakfast without letting your phone and other people's stories steal all your attention. You give yourself a few quiet minutes to sit with yourself. You go to work, to school, do chores, meet this person, talk to that person. And behind everything, there is one small line always there. This is not in my control every time you touch something that is not yours. This is mine to handle every time you face something you can act on. If that small line is repeated enough times, it becomes a new kind of muscle memory for your mind, just like you once taught your body how to ride a bike or swim. At first, you have to be very intentional. Later, it becomes a reflex. You no longer need to sit up at night analyzing every situation. You just hear the alarm go off in your head and automatically send it to the right side, hold or release. Tonight, as you lie here, about to slide deeper into sleep, you can whisper a very gentle promise to tomorrow. Tomorrow, I will do my part. What is not mine, I will practice putting down. If things go well, I will be grateful. If things are hard, I will still stand on my own side. You are not swearing that you will never worry again, never make a mistake again, never feel weak again. You are only promising one small thing. You will not turn your back on yourself in any storyline. And when sleep finally comes, whether quickly or slowly, it will not just be your body collapsing from exhaustion. It will be a decision, a choice to hand this part of your life over to rest for a while so that when morning arrives, you can keep going with a backpack that is lighter, smaller, and filled only with what truly belongs to you. By this point in the night, when your thoughts have been named, your worries sorted, and the things that never belong to you have been gently placed down by the roadside, you might feel a very subtle shift inside. Nothing loud, nothing dramatic. Just a quiet step out of the role of the one who must hold everything together, and a return to your real role, a human being, a normal person with limits, with scars, but still clear enough to choose how to live among all of these things. Tonight, you have walked with Epictetus through the line. Some things are in our control and others not. You have let Marcus Aurelius remind you, you have power over your mind, not outside events. You have borrowed Seneca's words to look at your habit of hurting yourself before life even touches you. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. All of these sentences, if they stayed as theory, would just be nice quotes hanging on a wall. But you brought them down to the bed, placed them next to your pillow, and let them touch very real worries. An unanswered message, a confusing look from someone, money, the future, the feeling of not enough, the feeling of being late, the fear you will never catch up. You have looked at the quiet violence you use on yourself when you try to control everything, forcing yourself to predict, to prevent, to never be wrong, to never be left behind. You have seen a small but real territory that does belong to you, your attitude, your choices, the way you speak to yourself, the way you face your mistakes, the way you keep your decency even when the world outside is not kind. You have also been brave enough to look straight at a long list of things that have never been yours, other people's thoughts and feelings, the past that has already gone, the future that has not arrived, judgments you do not have the power to edit, other people's decisions, the path that fate takes. You have practiced a different kind of letting go, not letting go through struggle, but letting go like loosening your hand from a rope that has already cut into your skin, admitting that you cannot keep pulling something that does not move towards you. Then you came back to the body, to the room, to the present, to the sound of the fan, the feeling of the blanket on your skin, the steady beat of your heart, the breath moving in and out like a small tide inside your chest. Here, there are no projects, no roles, no standards, no one's gaze. There is only you in your simplest version, a living person, tired, in need of rest. If you strip away all the philosophical language, Stoicism is mostly this: learning to live fully in the part of life you can truly hold, and accepting the part you can only pass through. Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. Epictetus is not telling you to give up effort. He is reminding you that effort does not need to turn into a war with reality. If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. Marcus is not asking you to become superhuman. He is handing you a simple compass so you do not get lost in 1,000 outside standards. No man is free who is not master of himself. Freedom is not getting everything you want. Freedom is not being dragged by every wave of emotion, every comment, every imagined fear. Tonight, in your own bed, you are practicing very small steps of master of yourself. Choosing to stop the invisible meeting in your head, choosing not to replay old scenes again, choosing not to write new worst-case scripts, choosing to speak to yourself in a softer voice, choosing to return to your breath, to your body, to the present. A part of you might still whisper, what if tomorrow everything is hard again? What if I spiral again? What if I fall back into the same loop? Those questions are not wrong. They are part of how you try to protect yourself. And the gentlest answer you can give yourself right now might be something like this: if that happens, I will do what I did tonight. I will separate what is in my hands and what is not. I will put down what is not mine. I will come back to the present. I will keep standing on my own side. You are not promising yourself that from tomorrow on you will never overthink again. You are not promising that you will never cry over old stories again. You are not promising that you will always be as calm as the books describe. You are only promising that each time you notice yourself drifting, you will gently bring yourself back. No shouting, no beating, no shaming. That is already a big promise. Now, before sleep comes closer, let today step back a few steps. The words, the faces, the screens, the numbers, the messages. Let all of them move behind a layer of frosted glass. You can picture yourself sitting in a private room. Outside, the street is still noisy, but the door is closed and only a thin sound of wind comes through the gap. Everything you do not control is out there. In here, there are only the things that belong to you. Your breath, your heartbeat, the warmth of the blanket, the way you treat yourself. You can place your hand on your chest or on your stomach and feel clearly that this body is still here. It has walked with you through so many years, through panic, through sleepless nights, through days when you thought you would not get through. It has never left you, even when you accidentally abandoned it to worry about everything outside. Tonight you are coming back to it, like returning to an old friend. Late, but still returning. If you want, you can quietly speak to it in your own words. Tell it that you know it is tired, you know it has been tense for too long, and from now on you will not ask it to carry things that do not belong to the two of you. You will let it rest when it needs to. You will let it be weak when it has no strength left. You will not call it useless just because it cannot meet impossible standards. You, in the end, are also part of what you can control. You can choose to treat yourself like a teammate, not like a machine that must run perfectly. Lucid dream, sleep, and science. Stories is here each night, not to turn you into some perfect Stoic version of yourself. It is here to sit beside you in moments like this, when worry has softened just enough for you to hear your own voice, when you are tired enough that you no longer want to fight with life. You just want a place to lie down in peace. Tonight, you have walked quite a distance, from the swirl of thoughts in your mind to the line between what you can control and what you cannot, to the things that were never yours, to a way of letting go that does not tear you apart, then back to the present and toward a lighter tomorrow. You do not need to remember every sentence, every point. What matters is this: your body is slowly learning that it is allowed to rest, and your mind is slowly learning that it does not have to drive everything. The rest, let the night handle it. Let your eyes grow heavier. Let your breath lengthen. Let your thoughts slow down, like a film going into slow motion and then fading. If a thought still comes, you do not need to wrestle with it. You only need to repeat Epictetus's line like a lullaby. Some things are in our control and others not. Then let it float away. Here, right now, you have done enough for one day. You have lived, you have tried, you have worried, you have reflected, you have begun to let go. The next part of this journey is not in your hands anymore. It belongs to sleep. So let yourself sink into this gentle darkness, not like someone who just lost a battle, but like someone who has finally set down a heavy backpack to rest. What belongs to you will still be there when you wake up. What does not belong to you can stay outside. And right now, there is only one small thing left to do. Take one more deep breath, let your whole body soften, and allow yourself to fall into a truly peaceful sleep.